Have you lost the connection with your higher self? Are you noticing the dis-ease of the outside world? It's time to reconnect with nature and each other and raise our consciousness, vibration, and frequency. Together we can create a world of peace and abundance. It's Spiritual Revolution Radio with your host, Dr. Will Miller.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast today. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is June Ahern. She is an author of 2 books on parapsychology and paranormal experiences. She's a medium and a paranormal investigator on a documentary series with The Haunted Bay on Prime and YouTube TV. And she also does special events and is a paranormal, or I would say more of a medium for the famous Winchester Mystery House, which we're going to talk about today a little bit. And she's been doing this for 45 years, people. So it's going to be real fun to talk to you today, June. And thank you for coming and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Why don't we start there and just tell us a little bit about what you're doing now with the Haunted Bay series and also the Winchester Mystery House.
Okay, the Haunted Bay right now, because of COVID, has kind of gone still in the dark right now, although the producer is still looking up places that she would like to go, and it's a little hard to get into some places right now. So meanwhile, the Winchester House got in touch with me, and they were looking for mediums in the Northern California area to come to the house to see what they picked up. Was there anything there? And so, it's right in the Bay Area. I wanted to go down and see it again. I'd have been there once before. So I went down and took a walk through the house into rooms that are not open to the public yet. They will be opened soon to pick up. What did I pick up? That's what they wanted to know. And it's such a nice, clean feeling, nothing negative there at all. And I began to realize, studying Sarah Winchester, she's a fascinating woman. And it's not a mystery. It's only a mystery for those that haven't walked the path yet of wanting to enlighten themselves.
So I had, honestly, until I talked to you the other day, I didn't even know what the Winchester Mystery House was. So maybe you can help my listeners know so they can be as enlightened as me.
Well, it's really an historical house that was built by the widow of William Winchester, who with the repeated gun. I don't know a lot about guns, and don't want to know a lot about guns. And supposedly, she built this house wanting to appease the spirit victims of all the people that were killed with this rifle. But the fascinating thing about her is that she was a woman before her time. You're talking about the mid-19th century. She was a Freemason, a Rosicrucian. She graduated from Yale. Women just didn't do these kinds of, belong to these kind of orders or go to college. So there's a lot more to her. In this house, it's absolutely architecturally beautiful. And anybody that wants to look it up will see this mansion and the grounds around it. Supposedly, it is very haunted, and people have said that they have seen dead spirits there. People have experienced, in the house itself, there are stairs that seem to lead nowhere, like a ceiling. There are little tiny stairs that keep moving around. There's all these kinds of parts of the architect that feel unfinished. But for anyone who has studied with the Masons or Rosicrucians order, know more about symbolism. And maybe that's the easiest way to put it.
And the home, does it have the Masonic and the Rosicrucian symbolism throughout it? Or?
Oh, yes. Yeah. But you would have to know more about those symbols in order to see them. I mean, the stained glass windows with sayings on them, such as we think, or all our thoughts are one. And nowadays people talk about creative visualization or attraction, the law of attraction. And all of that is part of the really metaphysical, scientific, and occult studies.
Right.
Oh,
It's
and
one of
it's
the
all this.
laws of the universe, right? The law of vibration. So,
Yeah, when people talk about giving it up to the universe. Well, what exactly do you mean by that?
yeah. So, is it open to the public?
Oh, yes. Yeah, they have tours there and such. Um, it really started out with people, you think of it as this really creepy, haunted house. And now, as we become more, as one would say, mindful, we're in a huge transition cosmically and in the world. And everybody can feel it, right?
Right.
And transitions are not always pleasant. Transitions are usually non-pleasant.
Usually you see a little chaos before the transition happens, right?
So it is seen as a haunted house. Most people want to come because they want to experience in that. I'm thinking in time, because they have a new director, that I'm going to talk to him more about the mystical aspect of this house, because it's truly a most beautiful mystical place.
Hmm. So, can you tell us anything about what you picked up walking through the home? Is that okay to do, or
I hope so.
good?
They might not have me back after. I don't know. I, I went to various places and I did see other spirits. The thing, when I go into any investigation with a haunted bay or any investigation, I don't want to know anything. I don't want anybody giving me ideas or what was there before. So I won't read up on it. I will go there, clean mind. Because, as soon as somebody says something, the way they use words, they're trying to gear you toward their answer or what they want you to pick up. I did pick up several different kinds of spirits. One I kept seeing as this big a man with a cigar and a hat, and the manager there said, well, we think that that's probably her attorney. And then I saw a woman at a writing desk in this room before they told me, and they said, well, this is where her cousin, who was also her secretary, lived. So I like it. I like the facts afterwards. It's no fun to have them before. So I
Right.
picked up a lot of different spirits throughout.
Well, as you talk and you said earlier, we're going through this transition, right? This I'd like to say we're maturing evolutionary,
Correct.
So we're going through this transition, and there's still somewhat of a mystery behind psychic mediums and psychics. And I'm of the attitude that we all have this great intuition, and it's a mental muscle we can really grow. And I know you're into teaching the psychic mind. So kind of give me your idea behind, is everyone psychic or just certain
Everyone has a
people?
psyche. Yes, everyone has a psyche. It depends on the ability. This is what I say to people. Here's my example. I have friends that they could sew up an outfit to go out for the night. I'm lucky if I can get a button on and stay on. And so I might be able to see spirits and know things about people without having never met them or know anything about them. So it is an ability. And like any ability, some people have a little more talent. People are talented. My mother was a really wonderful pianist, but I could hardly play any notes at all.
Hmm.
So it is an ability. There are people with keener talents toward it, but it can absolutely be developed and be discovered. I've seen it over and over with all the years of different classes I've given in ESP, intuition.
So the intuitive mind, then, obviously everybody has an intuitive mind. We're born with intuition as one of our mental innate, really, abilities. And we can make it grow. I agree with you that some people, it's just like you see some people in sports, they just have this ability to play without having to work so hard. And you see others having to work so hard in the same sport to do the same types of things. And I think everyone is that way. And I do believe that everyone has the ability to become and practice their psychic abilities. What are the different types of psychic abilities that people have that you've seen out there?
Well, I think what's important, and they use the word mindful nowadays, living more consciously, being more aware, which is really wonderful. That's why the area of the intuitive mind is getting more more positive recognition, for one thing. And how do you pick up? First of all, you get a hunch, and it happens somewhere in your body. And then you are able to translate that hunch into some sort of a idea or a message, if you will. You take the five senses and you have, seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, tasting. They all go under this kind of canopy of the clairs. I call them the clairs, Clairs, which means clear. It's a French word meaning clear. So you are clairvoyant or clairaudio or clairsentient. Empaths are quite clairsentient. They feel. And you want to get to know what is your stronger point. When you have an intuitive feeling, do you see an image or a symbol or even an action in taking place? Or do you hear a message? Do you hear your voice, or usually it's your voice and a mental message saying, this is a really good idea. You should call that person. All right. Mm. That's claudio. Do you get a feeling? Clairsentient. How is your feeling? What is it translated? Of all the years of teaching, the people that are clairsentient have the most difficult time communicating their intuitive feelings into actual usable experiences, because they may not be able to articulate what is going on. What are they feeling?
Well, I think also, on that point, I think people that are empaths and clairsentient, they tend to be, they tend to take what they're feeling and attach it to themselves, and they're thinking that they're unsure how to say what is happening from outside of themselves. It's coming from their perspective, right?
That is absolutely true. They make it subjective rather than objective.
Right.
And so when you're working as a psychic and a medium, you have to be in the place of objectiveness. You don't want to be that involved with it throughout the body. Clear, the people that are empaths, they're going to feel it a lot more physically in their body. And that's why they may say, gee, that gut feeling, or I felt sick to my stomach, or, oh, my neck was hurting. I felt something was there. It's a difficult place for empaths. And they also can learn how to translate into some sort of a communication, if you will.
Yeah. And I'm an empath and have been since I was young, ever since I remember, actually. But I had that problem. I still have that problem, honestly. It's very difficult for me to sometimes really articulate what it is I'm feeling. And sometimes it's even hard for me to tell if it's mine or someone else's. So it takes practice.
That's a really good point. And that's something that I would teach people. How do you know it's yours, and how do you know it's somebody else's? Are you a stronger receiver? Are you a stronger sender? I have this little quiz that I made years ago. It got kind of long, and then I put it back down. But learning about yourself. Do I pick up messages? Like I'm a really good receiver, but I've trained myself to be a better sender. But it's not my strongest point. My strongest point is to receive psychic information. So that's what you want to learn. Are you it sounds like then you're a really good receiver.
Yeah, I'm a better receiver for sure. I need to practice my sending.
Yes. Yeah. Creativity.
Yeah. So what can people do to learn what abilities, if you will, they have, and what can they do to make them, to practice them, really put them into practice?
Well, first of all, when you get that gut feeling, you get that hunch, what happens when you get it? Do you see an image, a picture, a symbol mentally? This would be mentally. Mentally, when you get that feeling, you feel that it's a really good idea to call somebody. You have to be in touch with somebody. And so you get this mental image of the person's face, or a mental image of the person where you're connected through, maybe social or through work. Well, then that is going to be clairvoyant again. You're going to be able to say, well, I'm more clear mentally, I see. So it's learning, how do you translate that hunch into a non-physical sense? Physical sense, I could see, my eyes. Well, sometimes now I need glasses, but used to be I never did. And so that mentally, did you see it? Did you hear it? Back to what I was saying. And if you felt it, this is the way I used to teach about empaths. I'd say, go to around your belly button, right around that space. You're feeling. and then see if you can put a line all the way up from your belly button up into your middle eye, so it's your second chakra to your sixth chakra.
Right.
But I don't get into chakras too much. And in there, can you begin to give it a color? Can you begin to give it a symbol? What does that mean to you? And that's how I would begin to teach people that, like you, were empaths or clairsentients.
So tell us a little bit about the projects you're working on now. And I also want, before we're done, tell us about your books. But if you don't mind, just kind of tell us about the projects you're working on right now so we can learn about you.
Well, I'm supposed to be retired. But being a double Gemini, that is very hard. Mostly the projects I'm working on now is I'd like to do this in a larger scale. I'd like to teach people about the intuitive mind and the importance of it. And one of the importance of it is when you tap in and you understand your intuitive mind, you could be a great asset. You could be a great part of humanity. You can actually begin to send images of peace and feelings of peace to the world. You can begin to send any particular person, like when you send Reiki energy, when you send healing energy, you usually always have to ask permission from the person you're sending it to. But you could become engaged in the evolution, you brought up evolution of humanity in a more positive way. That's really the reason that I want to speak to people and I want to talk to them about engaging themselves actually in metaphysical studies. Look beyond the physical world. Look beyond the three-dimensional space. Become engaged in humanity for the betterment of not only yourself, because when you live like this, when you begin to live like this, I'm not saying every day is great, trust me, and everything turns out wonderful, but there's a great sense of peace and that you're doing the best. You have a mission in life. And that's what I'm working on now is being out there with what I want to teach.
How do people find you?
Well, through my website's the best way to find me. June, Ahern, Ahern.com. Keep it real simple, juneahern.com. And I give some online, I'm back to giving online classes. I did take a break since last October. I was doing it all the way quite a bit. And then I just said, I need a break. I need to focus and like that. And that's a good way to get in touch with me. And it has how you can get in touch with me through my email there.
And you just mentioned you do online classes, and those are available on your website as well.
Yes. Yeah, it gives you, I'm going to do the intuitive mind. I really do feel it's important for me to, for years I teach ESP development. We had a great time. Yeah. I was amazed. You cannot believe, I couldn't believe some of the things that people were able to transition their own extrasensory perception into. And it's more even now important for people to be using their intuition. So that's my goal, is to teach at a bigger and a larger way.
Awesome. I hope people go to your website. I think it's such a good thing for us to really learn, especially right now because of the transition we're all going through, this our abilities, and to really start sharing them with other people. With the way the world is, it's so important that more and more of us start living that kind of lifestyle and sharing more with other people on a more soulful level, if you will, than this physical level that we've been conditioned to live, right?
Yeah, well, that's what you're doing with your programs. And I went through and looked at your programs, and so you are part of the evolution.
Well, I like to think so, so thank you. So on that note, though, tell us, where do you think the world's at right now? Where do you kind of see it going? What do you think people need to do?
I think that it's very difficult. We chose to be born into this particular difficult part of history, the Earth history. We need to shape up. We need to look at how we treat Mother Earth. Seriously, how we treat Mother Earth. We have to open our minds and our hearts and realize that we are brothers and sisters. And that is just not of human beings. That is of animals, the sea, the air, the sky. And it's not going to be easy. I'm going to tell you. And I know people don't particularly want to hear this. So in knowing that it's not going to be an easy evolution, because no evolution is easy, revolution, evolution, is to go back to your own visions and of what do you want in the world? How do you want your world and the world for, if you don't have children, for other people, for children? How, what do you want? And I think that's, you're asking me, how do I think it's going to be? And I say this very carefully. It's going to continue to be very difficult for quite a while.
I was going to say for how long, but quite a while. You mean years and years or centuries?
Oh, well, it could be centuries, but for us living here and now, it's going to be, the next 10 years, say 15 years. The reason I hesitate is because I know that we can together help the transition and make it more workable and understandable rather than saying, well, this woman said 10 or 15 years. But if we all got in there, part of the group I belong to, the Rosicrucians, at noon each day, no matter where you are in the world, your noon could be anything, we send out peace. We really meditate together. So, and it's a really large, it has a lot of fellowship people, a lot of people in this order. So hopefully that is helping the transition.
Yeah, I've studied the Rosicrucians,
So
and
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do, and I really admire some of the things they do, and that's one of them. The more energy we can put out there, the more good energy we can put out there, especially as a group, all at the same time. I don't think people understand what really happens in the world, and there's been studies done on this with people meditating and all at the same time, and how it lowers crime while they do it, and things change in the world while they do it. It's what we need to do more of, and I don't disagree with you that it's going to be a hard time, but I really see and you can comment on this when I finish my statement, but I really do see people taking one of two paths. They're going to go down a path where they enlighten themselves and they learn their abilities and they start sharing with other people. And I think we'll see a lot of people start to do that because they do see that the world really needs this, and our children really need this, and our grandchildren really need this. And you'll see other people who just take this, I always say it's more of a technology path, and they stay disconnected, if you will, from each other. What do you think about that?
Completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. And that's why people like you and people like me, and we're out. And, I understand from my younger people that this is being even talked about on TikTok. I don't get on any of that stuff. And it's about the intuition. People want to know more about the tarot cards. People want to know about reincarnation. So it is a growing interest that is needed. And you are correct. The two paths. Which path are you going to take? Are you going to be part of a better world, or are you just going to let it roll as it rolls without taking a positive role yourself?
Yeah, and we all have to make that choice. And we're coming down. I mean, this is Spiritual Revolution Radio, so it's time to make that choice. It's time to get moving. It's time to really make those decisions and better yourself, reconnect your soul. I mean, we're body, mind, and soul. And we've really learned over the past 100 years to disconnect our soul. It's time to learn to reconnect our soul.
Yeah, we're moving on, and it's not going to stop. We're going to keep moving on to make this a better world than it has been.
I agree. In the long run, it will be a better world. And a lot of people complain about how children are nowadays, and I go, well, actually, I think that's how they need to be for us to really bring about change, because we're not going to unless they are.
I'm going to tell you, I laugh about this because I read somewhere about Plato, and Plato was talking back then. These kids nowadays, they are so rude. They don't know manners. All they want to do. And I laugh because,
it's
kids,
never ending thing. It's always been that way, right? It sure does seem to be. Well, tell us one more time where we can get a hold of you, and so our audience does.
Places, you can go onto YouTube and see me in the Haunted Bay at work and get to know me a little better. You can go to my website, which I do have links to, also some Haunted Bay, June Ahern, AHERN.com. And if you want to just Google me, June Ahern, Medium, you'll find whatever source you would like to, your interest is, and go. have a lot of different sources there on the internet.
Awesome. Well, everyone, please go and look up June and definitely find out about her classes. I'm interested in doing that. And you can find me at spiritualrevolutionradio.com or at Life by Design Institute. And if you want to be on the show, definitely get a hold of me at spiritualrevolutionradio.com, and I'll get back to you. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
This has been Spiritual Revolution Radio with Dr. Will Miller. For more information or to be a guest, please visit lifebydesign.institute. Join us next week for another edition of Spiritual Revolution Radio with your host, Dr. Will Miller. This has been a production from a podcast studio.